clear up some circuit issues too.
Yep. Alrighty. Are we all good to go?
So this is our contest group. Some of us, there's a couple of other team members that are actually some of them in the audience. But the 6 that we decided to represent us today. Contest building. So you want to enter a contest.
Okay.
Did we want to go through, make sure that everybody says what they do on the team before we get started?
Absolutely.
Which is why we're on the introduction slide.
Look at that, imagine. I can read, I promise.
Yeah, before we start, I'd like to let everyone know we're professionals and we definitely know what we're doing.
We all read the slides,
100%.
I promise. It's so funny. But yeah,
Just go down the line.
My name's Meg. I'm one of the co-founders of IconINK, which is our building team. Pooks and I and Lena started working together really early in contests. Well, not super early, but about a year ago. And we've been working together ever since.
My name is Rebel. My primary role on the team is I do building. And I have entered 4 contests, 3 of which have been with IconINK.
Howdy, everyone. My name is Pooks. Again, like Meg said, I'm one of the co-founders of the group. Been doing contests in this game for a while now, and primarily I do circuits and audio design.
Hi, my name is Z. I'm a circuiteer or gadgeteer, and pretty much everything that I've ever done has been with IconINK and doing contests.
Hey everyone, I'm Brandon, and all my contest work has been with IconINK, and I do a lot of the 2D artwork and some building and other random things here and there. So glad to see you all here.
Hi, I'm Frui. I'm also a circuiteer gadgeteer. I've done 7 contests now, latest one being with IconINK.
A true veteran, that one. So I want to throw this one over to Rebel because she has a lot of really good points about pros and cons for building in a team and building solo. So why don't you tell us about getting started and making those early decisions?
Yeah, absolutely. So the one thing that I really want to stress is prior to choosing whether or not you're going to enter a contest, there are a couple of really important things that you want to ask yourself. First of all is when the theme is announced, if you're feeling excited about the theme, go for it 100%. Even if you don't think that you're going to have the skills, it's a really great opportunity for you to learn. But a lot of times I've heard people say that they're not that excited about the theme, and that's okay. You can try to challenge yourself to come up with something, or you can just take a break. Just remember, you don't have to participate in every contest. It's very important that you don't want to burn yourself out. Another question that you want to ask is, do you have the time to commit to a really big project? Contests, they run for about, 6 weeks? You get about 3 weeks of build time, then you have some time to test your room, and then to make sure that it's fixed during all the judging and the play phase. So it's a long-term commitment. You really want to consider that as well. But then also, you want to make sure that you are really in tune with what your strengths are and what your weaknesses are. And that's where it's going to come important to decide whether you want to work solo or if you want to find a team for your project. So there's a lot of really good opportunities for each. So one thing that I will say is it's really I've really preferred working with a team because I know my weakness is that I don't necessarily have the ability to do everything. I'm not great with circuits, and that's something that I understand. I've tried and have failed miserably, and that's okay. So I went to try to go towards a team. So the pros and cons for working with a team, it's definitely harder when you're working with a team because you have to remember that you don't necessarily get to make all of the decisions. When you're working with a group of people, you want to make sure that you're including everybody's opinions, everybody's ideas. And so there's usually not one person who gets to make all of the choices. So with that comes a lot of potential conflict. You may not always agree with your coworkers or your teammates, and that can be challenging. You're also held accountable for what you do. So when you're working with other people, you know, there's times where I have to build my things so that one of the circuiteers can hook it up to whatever needs to make it work. And that does have a time scale. So you need to make sure that you're getting your stuff done. And then you may not necessarily get a chance to showcase all of your skills if you are asked to do one specific task. But even with the cons, there's a huge list of pros, and I honestly would recommend working with a team if you ever get the chance. It's less lonely because you get to work with some really amazing people. It's less stressful because the job is not all laid out on you, and it's less responsibility because you get to divvy up the tasks. I'm not good at circuits, and that's okay. So I give it to somebody else, and they can take care of it, and it makes me feel a lot better. You have more communication and teamwork, which are really great skills that you get to learn. And you also get a lot of feedback from creative resources. There are things that Pooks knows from back in 2016 that I did not know as a builder. And there are some things that Z knows from his experience doing programming that I absolutely wouldn't even think of. So there's a lot of really great opportunities to get more heads in and to come up with really cool ideas.
Collaboration.
And so exactly. And so it's just a really great opportunity for you to improve as a builder, as a creator. And yeah, it's like a sales pitch for teams, but I would,
Yeah, definitely.
yeah, I would definitely recommend teams. There's a lot of pros to it.
Yeah, I've learned so much from all of you. I can't even imagine. Excellent. So does anybody have anything they wanted to point out on that topic?
I think that was covered beautifully.
Very well. Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay,
Right.
so building your team, I think Pooks and I have been working together in building our team with IconINK, and really making sure that we had all of the gaps filled as far as what everyone's strengths and weaknesses are. And I think we've done a pretty darn good job of it, if I do say so myself.
Yeah, I think we have. I can agree with that statement.
But yes, the first point there, absolutely working with people you trust is imperative. A good friend of mine likes to say, if you're going to build with someone, make sure you like them, because that is, there's a lot of ups and downs when it comes to contest building, and you want to make sure that you're definitely working with people you can get along with. And communication is, without a doubt, key. If you're not constantly talking with your team, you're probably offbeat with something.
Yeah.
Do you have anything, Pooks?
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, no, that's fine. You can keep it on this slide. But yeah, with communicating and building your team, definitely a big one is that with filling gaps and such, don't just find someone who has a specific skill that you're looking for. If you find someone that is a whiz at circuits and can do anything with circuits, but you don't get along with them and you're constantly fighting, then it's going to slow down the building process and you're not going to enjoy the situation as much. So definitely finding people who can do what you need them to do, but that you work well, like Meg said, is extremely important.
Which actually does lead us into the next slide.
Yeah.
Perfectly. So balancing talents is very important. We'll also talk about balancing talents for what category you want to go into a bit later, but ensuring that you have the gadgeteers and the builders in balance for whatever you're working on is very, very important. And also a big point of, simple versus complex items, be that gadgets or building, knowing the level of standard that you're going for. It's okay to have somebody with lower standard of anything because they're going to learn, but you have to make sure that you're bringing everything to the same standard so it looks cohesive across your entire build. And that's a lot about balancing those talents together.
Yeah, if I can touch on that, a great example for this was working on Narant. Narant was a huge project, took a lot and a lot of time with circuits. Meg and I spent countless nights working on that pretty late. And if you compare it to something like Robinson's Retreat, which was the contest we did previously, we only needed one circuiteer for that. The circuits were totally different. It was one small project, and then you moved on to the next one. They were simple, pretty quick to throw out. But Narant was one very large project, and all the circuits had to work together. There was no room for error, so we had to make sure that we were working well in complex circuits. So sometimes necessarily simple circuits and complex circuits can get a little different. Different people are better at different things, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, and knowing where to put those people is kind of a big part of a team, balancing that team effort and making sure that the right people are working on the right things. Big part of it. So there was one question that we had pertaining to this that we had written down that I wanted to ask all of you. Promoters, are they necessary? This was a question Rebel came up with. Yeah.
I was a little intimidated, I'm not gonna lie. When I actually joined the IconINK team, I had the least amount of knowledge of contests, but I also didn't have subscribers because I hadn't built any rooms and I didn't have a lot of experience with that. So when it came time to promoting your room and trying to get engagement so that you would make the next level of judging, it was very intimidating for me. And I see a lot of people go into the Discord and ask for promoters and try to push their rooms. And my opinion is no, you don't need promoters, and it doesn't necessarily coincide with how many subscribers you have. If you are passionate about your project and you have made something that you are passionate about, it will show to people. And as long as it works, you should be able to get enough people in. But that's just my experience with things.
Functionality is important, folks.
Oh, yes. I'd like to.
Yeah, I've oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Okay, so, I'll weigh in. So I've been doing contests in one way or another since the Mad Scientist contest, I guess, would have been way back when the first one I did. And I've seen all kinds of different ways that people have tried to promote their rooms. Some people get big YouTubers to be co-owners on their room and make videos and send Instagram and Twitter posts. And yeah, at the end of the day, that does maybe get views here and there on your room, but it's down to the quality and substance of the room that will keep people in the room and keep people coming back. I've done trailers for tons of contest rooms. I promote on Instagram and over on tons of different Discords, and it gets the name out there, and some people might click on it and be like, oh, that's interesting, but I don't see that having a YouTuber with thousands of subscribers, yes, it's going to help with the knowledge of your room, but bringing people in, I don't particularly see having a dedicated promoter where the only thing they do as a co-owner is promote the room as something that is necessary. I won't say that it can't be used to benefit rooms, but dedicating a whole co-owner spot, in my personal opinion, is maybe not the best use of a co-owner spot if you need it for something else like circuits or building.
I have gotten
Yeah,
a
I
few
completely
reports that
agree.
the curtain has returned. Do we want to
Okay.
We're
try
just
to fix
Down
that
and up.
again?
messaging crew.
Momentary
sorry.
interruption.
Technical difficulties.
We thought about
No,
deleting
you
the
cannot
curtain.
eat
We
the
should have
curtain.
deleted the curtain.
Yeah. I would not recommend eating things that are
Fabric.
made of cloth. Yeah, that would not be good.
I'm going to again recommend that those in the main instance, so those of you who are sitting in front of us not in a broadcasted instance, to mute your microphones, because I'm hearing some feedback from someone close to the camera. So I'd appreciate if you could mute your mic. Thank you very much.
Alright, so Z, you had something you wanted to say on the subject?
Oh, I was just going to say I completely agree. I think that there are times where promoting is very good. You can definitely use a promoter to bring attention to your room. However, just because you're sending people into your room doesn't always mean that it's going to benefit you. One of the best ways for a room to succeed is to have a successful room in the sense that people want to come back. They want to play it again, right? When we made Narant, we had an experience where even we wanted to go back and play our game. Everyone that went in and understood the game, they were coming up to us and saying, oh, we just want more people to play with. We're looking for more people. Will you play with us? And they created their own friends and their own events, and it was an awesome experience. And that's something that you can't do with a promoter. That is something that you have to come up with the design and the idea yourself and really just have a enjoyment of whatever you're creating.
Yeah.
Real quick, there was a question that was asked, how many people are you allowed to have on your contest build team? That is a good question. They do list the requirements as limiting 6 people can be credited and invited to the roomies if you are to be up for an award. So if you are going to take one of those positions and give it to a promoter, that means you have less of a workforce to actually put into the quality of your room. So that is something to consider. It's very important that you are wise with who you pick to be on your build team.
Yeah, great question. Thanks, Robbie. So I'm actually going to put somebody on the spot here. Furi, you have a lot of experience, especially with contest maps. What do you feel about the promoter thought process?
Some of our earlier contest rooms, we never did any promotion whatsoever. We were very insular, just the 3 of us. Sort of, we only hung about with ourselves. It was we created rooms for other people to play in, games that I think most importantly we would enjoy playing ourselves. I think that's
Which is very important.
That's sort of why we credited the popularity of our early rooms. Is we were nobodies, like coming in 0 subscribers, made the rooms, they seemed to blow up, and it's because we made something that we would want to play. I think it means that other people would also want to play them as well. So I think that's really important. You make something that you will also enjoy.
Absolutely, great point. Yeah. So, did we have any other questions on the balancing talents topic?
Nothing other than just to consider what types of builders and what types of gadgeteers you have. So we have simple versus complex, which applies to gadgets. But I definitely would make sure that when you're considering builders, depending on the project that you're working on, you can have several builders who are tasked to do different things. So if you have terrain artists, if you have interior designers, if you have prop workers, if you have modelers who can work on costumes, these are all things that one standard builder might not necessarily be an expert at all of them. So it's very important to make sure that you balance those talents even within the role of builder versus gadgeteer.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So this next topic is very near and dear to my heart. Ground rules of working with other creators.
Oh.
This is something
Ooh.
that is very important to me, as my team knows. It is important, first of all, to have ground rules when working with other creators, and that everyone understands those ground rules. So even if you have an entire group of friends working together, it's still a really good idea to establish certain rules. My number 1 rule is no touchy. You do not delete anything made by someone else, ever. Unless you have talked to them and it's been discussed and it has been decided to get rid of that for whatever reason.
Mm-hmm.
And the reasoning behind this is that it's respect, right? Respecting what someone else has built. If you need to move it out of the way while you're working on something else in the same position, that's totally fine. Absolutely. But don't just outright delete something someone else has made. And this happens really, really often in the community when people are trying to work together. So that's just one ground rule that I really recommend that you establish with your team. It establishes a sense of respect for everyone else's work and time. And I feel like that's really helped us a lot.
Yeah, and to add into that, this also goes for circuits as well. It's not just building. There are times where you think that you can go in and fix something that one circuiteer had made, and if it's complex enough, you don't necessarily know exactly what they're doing with their circuits. You could be implementing something in a totally different area than where the fix is supposed to be made. So if they're not online and you make a change and they can't remember where you changed something, it can get really messy and it can take a lot more time to fix the patch that you put on. So definitely working with everyone and communicating before you start touching other people's things, or just copy it and make a copy and modify the copy instead.
Yeah, and that brings us to point number one, actually, with the communication. Like, if you do need to touch someone else's anything, in regards to gadgets or building, anything along those lines, that you're communicating everything with the teammate, in order to make sure that everybody's on the same page. And that's really important. And you'll see communication on most of these slides, to be honest, because that's really the core of having a good functioning team is communication. Any other good ground rules for working with other teammates?
Yeah, I'll chime in here. Going off of communication, having a reliable and preset line of communication with your team, either if it's you have a group text message, a Discord server, which is what our team uses, something that's private that you can all communicate on and you all know how to get in contact with everyone. So if something's gone wrong or you need to reach out to a certain person or everyone, you can do that quickly and you're not scrambling. Well, this person uses Instagram direct messages and this person only uses Discord and you have to message this person on
Yes.
Twitter. It
Yeah.
gets muddled. Having a good central location for communication definitely helps.
And to your point, I think also making sure that you are allowing people a reasonable amount of time to respond, because people have jobs or school, or, I mean, goodness forbid we have lives outside of this game. But we want to make sure that we're not putting pressure on people to be online and on call 24/7. Just remember that people do have things going on and this is supposed to be fun. You know, it's not supposed to be stressful, at least not as stressful as it can be.
Yeah, that's a good point that segues into our next slide. If everyone's ready
Well,
to.
actually, before we move over to that next slide, one of the other ground rules that we did have marked down that I know we wanted to talk about was motivating with positivity, and I think Brandon wanted to talk about that.
Yeah. So we've talked a lot about Neuront, and I mean, just curious, in our instances, I mean, if you want to throw in the chat, how many of you have played Neuront? Because there's a lot of complexity with that game and creating all the cards, all the artwork for the cards. That was kind of my task that was given. And this was my first time working with a contest team. So there's, so many cards and I just had to keep doing it, and it's just a lot of like work that's really repetitive. So having that positive communication from the rest of our team, like, wow, this looks so great, and that really helped me keep going and be a productive contributing member for our team, and really knock some of the card art out of the park.
Yeah, I think that without that positive reinforcement from the get-go, I was already intimidated. I was working with, Meg and Pooks, and I had met Frui at that point, and just knowing all these really big builders who had tens of thousands of subscribers, and I'm just sitting here like, oh, hey, I think I know how to use a maker pen. It was their encouragement going, oh my gosh, this is amazing. Can you please do more of this? Or can you show me how? Having that little positive reinforcement can go a really long way, because mentally I was thinking I wasn't there, it wasn't good enough, that maybe they wouldn't like it. And if they hadn't spoken up, those negative thoughts probably would have prevented me from coming up with some really great things. And so I know that I can speak to everyone here. Everybody deserves positive reinforcement. And it's just, take care of your teammates. You are all there to do a job, but also there to have fun. And it's a really great way to make really powerful friends that, can last with you. So just make sure that you're being kind and really helping out your team by being positive.
Absolutely.
It is
Yeah.
also very important to stay positive, especially during contest times, because
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
it's real easy to go negative, and that's not somewhere you want to be, because odds are it's not going to end in a good contest map
Mm-hmm.
or a contest map at
Mhm.
all, possibly. So stay positive always. Okay, and yep, that can totally lead into our next slide.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh boy.
Which it does, actually.
Yeah.
When the going gets
Yeah.
tough.
Positive reinforcement.
Oh yes.
Definitely,
Very, very
definitely.
important.
So on doing kind of we were setting up the notes and things for this discussion, and Rebel was kind enough to really detail some stuff out for us, and one of the things that she put on it, which I found was absolutely stunning, which is why I put it in the slide here, is confrontation is hard, but it doesn't have to be mean.
Mm-hmm.
You want to talk about what you meant by that?
Oh, yeah, sure. It's so a lot of people feel that confrontation is challenging because they're afraid of someone being angry at them because you have a difference of opinion. And it doesn't have to be that way. I know that it is intimidating, but you really should speak up. If you really feel like something needs to be done, if some of your project isn't moving fast enough, if you need something in a timely manner and it's just not happening, you might need to reach out to those people and just give them a heads up. Say, hey, you know what? You're doing a really great job, but I kind of need this thing relatively soon. Is it possible to get it within this, time frame? It doesn't have to be mean. You don't have to tell people that they're doing things wrong, because essentially it's just your feeling. Confrontation is all about communication, and so pointing fingers is not going to be a good thing. You're just going to make people angry with you, and you're not going to motivate them to help you in any way. So it's better to come up with a compromise where both parties are feeling like it is a feasible option, that it is something that you can accomplish together. And then once you make that choice and that compromise has been made, move on. Don't bring it up. Don't let it push you to resent that person later, because it's only going to make it more difficult for you and for your team. And so just remember that it is okay to disagree on something, but it's really not okay for you to be angry or for you to resent someone and to treat them poorly because of your opinion. So just make sure that, again, be kind and remember that we're all people. We're all trying to do our best. And if it's a learning experience where you realize you don't work well together, that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. Just remember to be kind and move on once you've made a decision.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
I
For those in
wanted.
the broadcast instance, we did just fix the curtain again. Let us know if you're still having trouble. Go ahead. Sorry.
So I wanted to touch on, yeah, so when things get tough, breaks are very important. I think I can speak about taking a
Very.
break from things more than most people on this team, because for the past three contests, I have had times where I have either been in the hospital for the entire contest or a duration of the contest. And I am so grateful for the rest of the team for understanding and just helping me get through all of that. And there was one contest where I wanted to be a huge part of it on Robot Wars and with the last summer camp contest, and I just couldn't. And the team understood, and I worked with them and spoke to them and got people to cover my roles and such, and I wasn't able to work on that contest. I was stuck in the hospital, so I did a little bit on an old Quest 1, but I took a step back. I was like, I can't, and the rest of the team was extremely understanding, and again, working with people that will understand when situations arise and stuff like that is very important, so that when you do need to take a break, if things just get too much or something comes up, you're able to do that, communicate with the team, say, hey guys, just can't do it, something's come up, gotta take a break. Really, really important. And it definitely, I was bummed that I couldn't help with the last contest and that I had to miss the end of Narant and a whole bunch of things, but again, taking breaks are important.
Real life
and
comes first.
You don't have
Always.
to beat yourself up that you missed this or that because something else came up.
Yeah, 100%. Take breaks. It's important. You take care of you. This is a game.
Hmm.
I do also want to add, like, yes, take breaks. Totally agree. There are also some scenarios sometimes that you have to kind of hold yourself accountable if you told people that you were going to do something.
True.
And we're really great on that. We know I'm getting really burnt down on such and such. Hey, could someone help me with this because I can't be on today? But if they can't, finish it 100% of the way, there's a compromise there. They make it 90%, and then you say, okay, thank you so much for doing that. They, took so much of a burden off of you, took a lot of weight, and you can just finish it up right away. So, using your teammates to also help you, is a great thing that you can do.
Yeah, communication is
Yeah.
key. You just really need to make sure that you're communicating with your team, especially if you are feeling burnt out or if you're struggling and you need help. Because if you don't verbalize and ask for that assistance and you just end up ghosting, your team is going to be kind of left hanging as to whether or not you're going to be there. So really make sure that you are communicating. I know that it can be hard, especially if you feel like you're going to let them down, but you're actually going to let them down even more if you don't say anything. So it's better to speak
Right.
up and just be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah, so one example of that, where you sometimes just have to give yourself a break, and sometimes you just can't do something. Like for Space Camp, I set out I was gonna make this rocket ship. That was my plan. Well, I tried, and then I tried again, and then I tried again, and I could not get this rocket ship for whatever reason. And so I went to Meg and I was like, can you help me? And it's that communication and giving yourself a break. Like if you can't do something, that's okay, but you got to communicate about it. And Meg made this awesome rocket ship we see here. So, it all worked out.
That's what
And
teams are for.
also, yeah, and especially with that kind of stuff, is like it's fun. You can see kind of the difference as time goes on, as builders change. That's a rocket ship I made about a year ago. That's the rocket ship I made for Space Camp. So
Space Camp.
as you get as you get better, it's definitely. But yes, absolutely, communication is key. Is anybody sensing a theme with this communication thing? Yeah, kind of important.
Get along, be nice, communicate.
Not really.
Yep. Just before we hop on to the next subject, just want to give we're at the 40-minute mark for the team, just as a reminder for all of us.
We got what, 3 more slides? Okay.
Something like
And then
that.
Q&A.
We're getting close to the end, yeah.
Yep,
Awesome.
we'll have a good amount.
Pooks, actually, if you want to talk about this one, I think you're the most familiar with the different categories and how they interact with each other.
Yeah, so I've worked on every category except for art. Is that correct? I hope that's correct. So yeah, picking a category it's very, very important on tons of different factors. So if you agree with your team that we love the theme, we want to work on something, then picking the category is the logical next step on which category you're going to do, because it impacts what type of room you'll make. So you want to first be passionate about the type of room and category that you're picking. If you are making a room simply because you think the category is going to be easy, or you have past experience because of a category, won't necessarily give you the best chance as if you pick the category and project you are passionate about. And that's speaking from personal experience, because I had gotten into a rut of only making hangout rooms because I knew what a hangout room should be, I knew what judges looked for in hangout rooms, but it kind of got old, and it was just going through the motions of making a hangout room every contest. You have nooks and crannies, you add some interactable objects.
All the nooks and crannies.
Oh, that's a
I have
conversation
PTSD
on its
from
own.
the hangout phase.
So you gotta work with your team and brainstorm different ideas. You can brainstorm hangout ideas, and if one of them clicks and you are really passionate about it, go for it. But definitely brainstorm different ideas for different categories. And if you have a bunch of circuiteers who are confident that they could knock out a PvP room with really fun new mechanics, then maybe lean towards that category, but don't let the other categories slip away. Always think about different possibilities, who you have on your team, and really at the end of the day, what you're going to enjoy making. Because if you pick a category and type of room that you're just not into, then there's really no point even trying. Cause
A great example for our team was Narant. When we were writing down our ideas, we brainstorm before every contest. We write down multiple ideas and we choose one. We all vote together and decide which one was going to be best. And we were pretty worried about Narant being too much work in too short of a time. But we were all so set. We're like, I will work so hard to get this thing done because it sounds amazing and I want to be there and enjoy it. If you can't tell, we all really like Narant. So we went with it, and it was every night. I mean, it was late nights all the time. We were really pushing to try and get that room out. And I'm so glad that we put in the work because we're all extremely proud of the work that we put in and in that map. So
Is he ready to do another run?
No.
Opposite direction.
For those who don't know, Narant has multiple decks that you can play with, and so we had to have an instance for each individual deck combination. And because the room was in beta at the time, every single room had to have its circuits done manually. There were 16 game rooms. So every time there was a fix or a bug change for Narant, they had to go through all 16 rooms to change it.
We got to the
How long
point
did it
where
take?
we just, well, by the time that we were done, it usually took about an hour because of how long the room
each
took
run.
to save.
And then load the
Because
next.
there were so many circuits.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was crazy.
I commend you two. I couldn't have done it.
Woo!
But going real quick, backtracking back to picking the category. So when the folklore contest was announced, I was still in the I do hangout rooms type mindset. And so I had to, the team was meeting all in the evening to decide what to do, and I was busy that evening, so I hopped on earlier with Meg, and I think a couple of other team members had come in, and I was starting to brainstorm with Meg, and I was like, well, we could do this for a hangout, and that for a hangout, and then I was Googling stuff, and I believe that I was like, oh, there's a game on Steam that's popular currently, that's a card game, and it has folklore in it. We should do a card game. And then I kept doing research, card game, and it wasn't immediately sold with the team at the beginning. And I remember that I had to go to do whatever I had to do that evening, and I was with Meg, and I was like, yo, we'll do a card game, because
I think you said it to me in Discord about 50 times too.
Yeah.
Card game,
We had a lot of discussion, and we kept coming back to it a lot of the times, and we kept coming up with new ideas. And you can kind of sense when the group keeps coming up with, oh, we could also do that and we could do that. Those are usually the ideas that you kind of want to roll with, because if people are being creative on the idea and they're excited about it, it just builds and builds on itself, and that's going to be an awesome experience to go through and an awesome room that you can build.
As much torture as those runs were, I apologize, because the card game popped into my head, and I was like, yo, let's make a card game. So
Yes, so it's all his
Don't
fault.
be
That's what
intimidated. Yeah.
But
Don't
a
be
card
intimidated
game
by
we
any
did
of the
make,
categories.
and it was awesome.
We did.
We did it.
oh, that's a good thing that you just said about intimidation. Don't get intimidated by the categories.
Oh, a lot of people are intimidated by contests from the get-go. It's a huge commitment, but also you want to make sure that the category you're picking is right for you, because they each have their own challenges. For example, art. If you have a lot of builders, art might be the right thing for you because there's not a huge need for any complex circuits. It's not very interactive based. You can add circuits in, but it's not something that you need complex gadgeteers for. Hangout is going to be competitive all around. My best advice is just to look at some previous winners and see what they did really strongly and go for that. I am passionate about Hangouts. It's what I like to do when I'm in Rec Room, but I personally don't like to build Hangouts. Game is very circuit heavy. It's going to require a lot of complex circuits, a lot of testing, maybe not as complex as Neurant all of the time, but it is going to take some practice, especially if it's your first go at doing gadgets. As far as how to get experience with that, technically Z got Neurant on his second go at a room. But not everybody is able to do that or have that previous knowledge. I would highly recommend signing up for the Discord and taking a look at any classes, because that's really going to be your best opportunity to learn that, and making sure that you're in the game and really trying to practice. Quest is like an all-around different kind of beast. You open that can of worms and you're going to need everything. You're going to need voice actors, audio design. You're going to need a story writer. You're going to need a lot of different subrooms that make sense. And so those builders and those gadgeteers really need to be communicating efficiently. So while Quest is incredibly intimidating, it's so rewarding. I would highly recommend it. And then PvP, a lot of people go, hey, look, there's not a whole lot of PvP options. We should totally enter. You're going to need a lot of testers, and it can't just be your team, because you'll run into authority issues. So really make sure that you're trying to get in your friends and people ahead of time to make sure that it works. All of the categories are really great. Find the one that works best for you, but don't be intimidated by it just because you don't have what you think you need.
Hello,
The worst thing that
Sharpie.
you could do is just try it. And if you don't
learn.
get it published in time for,
Mhm.
if you don't get it published in time for a contest, there's no penalty.
Oh
Just
wait, that's not
publish
me.
it on your own and see if you can learn off of it that way too. So just take it as a learning experience.
Oh, hello. I thought that guy was you.
Yeah, and as far as
What?
categories go, and as far as basically any rules involving the contest go, obviously there's the contest Discord where you can ask general questions and stuff like that, but one of the notes we have is, if still in doubt after talking to resources and things, Misery is a great resource. Contact Misery. She knows every in and out about the contests as she runs them. So I know she's usually busy, so give her time and be very respectful of her time. But she's been very, very helpful to us in the past.
I just want to add something. I know it's a little bit off of the track that we're on right now, but creating a build team, we do a lot more than just contests as well. I mean, we have our other projects that we're working on. Being a part of a build team doesn't have to be just limited to your contest. You know,
For
a
sure.
lot of our rooms, yes, they are contests, but we continue hanging out and working on projects together as a build team. So
100%. Even doing YouTube videos, all kinds of stuff. Like we just
if you
Right,
mesh
think
well
about
and you guys stay
12
together,
minutes.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think
Well,
that
we're
goes
building
back
up-
to
Wanted
one
to
of
some
the
questions.
things you said earlier, which is that, you know, when you're picking your team, pick people you like to work with. So like, you know, even when there isn't the huge incentive of a contest, like we all love working together, which is, you know, it's just
regardless
a lot
what
of
we're doing.
Mhm.
Yeah, 100%. All right,
All right.
last slide. So this one is fun. Comes with a lot of caveats. Keeping the project on schedule. Some of us are better at this than others. I am not one of them. But
Rebel is.
yes, Rebel has been quite good at helping keeping us on track. I will say though that one thing that I highly recommend for any build team is weekly meetings, because that way you can discuss everything. But other than that, I'll hand it over to Rebel, our taskmaster.
Yeah, communication is just super important, especially if you're waiting on someone to make something that you need to utilize relatively quickly. It's not good to throw that responsibility on someone and expect them to do it immediately. So making sure that you plan enough time in between and give them ample notice is super important. So one of the resources that we have used is Trello. Is it a web-based application?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a website. So what you can do is you can add to your project board all of the different tasks that need to be done in the room or in each subroom. And then when you share it out to all of your builders, they have the ability to claim tasks, or you can assign those tasks to them. So as long as everybody's checking on it regularly, you can add deadlines, you can check on progress, and you can mark things that are in progress and that are complete. So it's a really good visual element that you can use even when people aren't online, because I know that some teams work with people who aren't in the same time zone, and sometimes it can be hard to communicate with them. Using a program or a website like Trello is really beneficial, and it's a great way to communicate with your members.
It is a necessity for
So
a lot.
yet again, we bring up communication. I mean, it's just really the core to this. Communication should have just been on every slide, to be honest.
Yeah.
I think that's the summary of how to work well with a contest creation team, or how to build a contest team is work with people you like and communicate well with them.
Mhm.
That's
Yeah.
really the basis of all of it. There's some
Communicate
tools
what you're
to help you here and
interested
there.
in doing, communicate on how you're going to do it, and then celebrate together at the end.
Yes.
And remember to
Yes.
be kind. Always be kind to others.
Oh, yeah.
All right, so I think that can move us into Q&A. There was one question that someone asked early on that I grabbed. I don't know if they're still here, but I thought it was an important question. They asked if I feel like being on screen mode is a problem for a builder, and I say that that's up to the builder, to be honest. I know that there are amazing builders like Freckleberry, and we've got Robbie in here even, who work on screen mode, and they do absolutely amazing things. I personally struggle building on screen mode, but I also struggle with 3D aspects in a 2D setting in that way. Yeah, Freckle's amazing. And they do great things. I don't know how they do it, but they do it. And so I think that's up to the builder personally. Yeah, and just type your questions in the chat,
I was just
and we
typing that in
will
the chat, yeah.
work on getting to them.
Yeah, it is going to be a little bit easier to read questions that are sent in chat, especially if you are not in the main broadcast instance. So if you post them in the chat, we'll definitely be able to get to them.
Okay, so any tips on getting win commission?
Win in a
Any tips
competition.
on winning?
Well, sure. We've done several contests, so that we can speak to that, I believe. As far as like specifically building competitions, it's, work well with your team, build your team well, and make something that you like, and that will give you the best opportunity to win, really.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Also, it's a lot of work, so make sure you have the drive and focus to do so.
And because
It's
of the amount
important.
of work involved, make sure you have time to dedicate to a contest. If you work a 9 to 5 and then are busy as soon as you get home until you go to sleep, maybe doing a contest might not be for you. But if you got some time to spare and you can dedicate and put the work into being on a team, then go for it.
But don't let that stop you, because contests, again, are not everything in Rec Room. You can build a world on your own time, and it
Definitely.
could fit the theme for the contest, but it doesn't have to be a part of the contest. Just create whatever you're passionate about and go for that.
So
We're
one
getting quite a
question that
few
they've got.
people. Go ahead.
Mhm. Sorry.
We've got a couple people that are asking on ways to how we would recommend getting a team, which I think is a good question.
Yeah, so, I mean...
It's a good question that I'm not even sure how to answer.
So, I can say, since I've been doing this for a while, and it took me quite a while to find a team. And I wouldn't consider that I even started team building until I had met with Meg, and just happened to do a room with her. A good thing is to work outside of contests and get yourself a little portfolio. Have some rooms you've done that you're proud of, that you put some effort into, or inventions, or something you can show off to people, and then put yourself out there. There's discords about it and building teams, and people are always asking for teams and team members on the Discord during contest time. Even if you join a team and it's not your favorite team and you might not consider working with them in the future, still, if you've completed a contest room, then your name's out there, people are visiting it, people are seeing it. I know in the very, very beginning of building IconINK, we were hand-selecting people based on things we saw that they had already built and personal interaction. So another thing to look at is, do you think any of your friends who are interested in building would be wanting to do a team with you? I know the whole team, everyone up here, I could say, we're great friends, and a lot of these people I was friends with prior to them joining the team. So looking at that, just finding people you work well with that also have talents, and then putting yourself out there. It's a big combination. There isn't one specific way I would recommend to you have to do X, Y, and Z to find a team. So there's lots of different avenues, and if anyone else wants to chime in.
Yeah, I think a great example is Brandon, for example. We met Brandon through a club. We had seen him around a bit. We had chatted with him a few times and noticed some of his portfolio, and we liked it. And we asked if he wanted to build with us, and we kind of started to get to know him and kind of built a relationship, a friendship with him. And he said yes and jumped on board, and it's been awesome since. So clubs are a great way, just meeting people in general
leave
for the Rec
Megan.
Room.
High five.
Dude.
High five.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
have 2 minutes. I've also heard a lot of people who have taken Maker Pen classes, and they have met some really great people that they enjoy building with. I know that's a lot of the Maker Pen classes, they do group projects. And so if you enjoy working with that build group from your Maker Pen class, it's something that maybe you could further on into other projects outside of the class, like contests.
Yeah, 100%. And since we're low on time, what I'll do is I'll just ask this one last question from Robbie, and we can end there. And I'll personally stick around to answer any other questions you guys have in the room. Obviously we won't be broadcasting anymore, but yeah.
Do we
also have
want
a
to get
Discord.
the video queued up while we're talking about our kind of
Yeah.
last questions?
yeah,
It kind of
let's
shows
get
like
that
who
queued
we
up.
are.
We have a video, and it works perfect for the question, actually. We have a video of trailers over the past 8 months of different things that we've made, and the question is, what does the name IconINK mean to you? And for me, and how did we come up with it? For me, it kind of started out as a play on words, obviously, of iconic. And then it became kind of aspirational for me, because in order to be iconic, it's like those things that you think of Lost River Delta and all of those iconic rooms that really meant something to you and made you start building. And that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to be able to say that we had inspired someone to do something. And that's what it became to me.
I got chills. That's a great way to say it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a really good question. If there are any more questions, or if you are looking for more tips and tricks on how to build a team, we do have a link to our Discord, and we also have a button to join our club. So if you have any other questions, feel free to reach out to us on those platforms, and we'll be more than happy to help you out there.
Yeah.
I had fun. I don't know about you all, but I had fun.
Yeah, so I'd like to extend a huge thank you to everyone who came out and hung out with us today to watch our little panel. The transcript of all this will be uploaded on YouTube at some point, so if you're watching this in the future, thanks for watching.
Hi.
Hi, future people.
Hello.
But yeah,
we'll
some
also
of us...
hopefully be uploading some of this data on our Discord and possibly on our website in the future, because we found as we went through this that this was really good information for anybody who wanted to be on a team. So yeah, we're going to try and put that out for you as well. So keep an eye out for that.
And I think that's all she wrote on the broadcast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bye,
Thanks for being
everybody.
so awesome.
We'll stay in
Be
this
nice.
room.
Thanks for
though, if you guys have
coming.
any
Nice to
questions.
everyone.
Be nice.
Communicate.
Excellent.
Communicate.
Alrighty,
Communication,
I
communication,
am
communication.
dropping the
I have stopped
recording.
broadcasting.